first witnessed factory farming 17 yeyears ago, and the conditions the animals were in were obscene. Animals are treated like machines purely for profit.
In all the years that I've been connected with the agricultural and food industries of Great Britain, I am completely convinced that there is no deliberate cruelty in the humane slaughter of animals for human consumption.
It is my belief that money never excuses cruelty. I also believe that a vegetarian diet is much healthier and that it is central to stopping environmental destruction and world hunger.
To me, meat eating is still one of the great pleasures of life.
Hello.
Hello, and how are you?
I'm fine.
Great. Now, I know what you're going to do with me, my dear. You're going to attempt to castigate and condemn this canny old Geordie Northumbrian when I categorically state that there is no cruelty whatsoever in the preparation and the processing of lambs, sheep, chickens, cattle, pigs, processing and preparing all these wonderful meaty animals for the 3 meals a day and a bit of supper for Mrs. Great Britain, Mr. Great Britain, not forgetting the bairns. Absolutely wonderful food, providing the essential nutrients we need for healthy life and living.
I think that most people in Britain, or certainly many more people in Britain today, are aware that there's an awful lot of cruelty in modern agricultural methods.
Not really, my dear, not really.
I'll just give you an example of things that I've seen for myself.
Yes.
I first went vegetarian many years ago now. In fact, I was only 15 at the time.
Rather young to make a definite decision, was it?
Yeah,
not?
it was. In fact, I went round what's known as a battery unit, a battery hen farm where the hens are kept for eggs.
One of the most comfortable and humane ways of producing nutritious eggs 365 days of the year in the cheapest possible manner to give...
Well, let me describe what I saw, and people can decide for themselves whether they think it's comfortable or not. Basically, you walk into this huge shed. It's got no natural lighting at all. The stench of the place is the first thing that hits you. And I had a headache within seconds because of all the droppings from the hens, which are not cleaned out. They're kept in these cages, which are about the size of a small microwave oven. And you could fit about one hen in that, and she couldn't even stretch her wings. But instead of that, they don't just keep one, they keep 5 hens in each cage.
Indeed they do.
They're on a sloping wire floor, so that the eggs roll down. Cages, just wire all around them. Now, these hens in the wild, the jungle fowl, which I've seen in places like Indian rainforests, they lay about 12 eggs in a year. Now, these poor old hens in these cages have been so manipulated by human beings that they're laying 300 eggs a year.
Well, you see, the point is...
Just let me finish what I saw.
Yes, indeed, carry on, my love.
Just let me what I saw. Because they're laying so many eggs in a year, they actually use the calcium from their bones in the shells. They leach out the calcium of the bones, and a third of these hens have got broken bones at any one time. And this first farm I went in, I was in there for about, at the most, 5 minutes, because I couldn't stand it, and I saw loads of dead hens in the cages. They hadn't bothered to move, and so that was when I first decided I'm not going to pay anybody to keep these animals in these conditions, and it was horrific. And everybody that went round there agreed it was truly the worst thing that they'd ever seen.
Well,
and I've seen it many times since over the years.
And you're a very sincere young woman, as indeed you should be. You remind me of my wife in many instances. But the battery house you went into, there should be no smell whatsoever of droppings, because there are fully automated, movable trays that take away the droppings 24 hours a day. And these happy hens, they're sitting all amongst their friends, chucking, clucking to each other, chuck, 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 chuck. They're in an atmosphere, dear, of a balmy summer's day.
No, that is not true at all.
They've got constant food, they've got constant water in front of them, they've got a balanced diet which contains somewhere in the region about 14% protein. I don't want to bore you with technicalities, but the calcium in the food is enough to keep them happy. And today, Safeways, Sainsbury's, Asda, all the supermarkets, they want eggs, constant quantities of quality graded produce coming into their stores every day of the year. They want to keep the flow of food into the supermarket shelves constant. So you have to have a controlled, constant environment. Now, you're talking, my love, about the jungle fowl in the Indian rainforest. I mean, I've never seen an Indian rainforest, so I don't know. But I live up in North Northumberland, lovely little village called Sea Houses. I used to keep free-range hens. I used to keep Welsummers, Barney Veldes, White Wyandottes, Rhode Island Reds. And you know what happened come the end of September, right until the end of March? The wind was sweeping in from the North Sea. It was coming down from the Cheviots, blanched with rain. These poor hens huddling together. The majority of the food intake had to go to keep themselves warm. There was no eggs. We didn't get any eggs. And you can't satisfy supermarket orders if you haven't got any eggs.
No, you can't. You cannot satisfy.
On the 17th of February, a year last the 17th of February, a terrible disaster struck my small flock of 27 hens. I got up one morning, got the dog out, went up to the hen run, and do you know what was there? 17 decimated, destroyed carcasses that'd been ravaged to death by Reynolds the fox. And
well, that's
disease hits them.
Free-range hens, they live a much more natural life if you keep them genuinely.
Bitten off by a fox.
Of course, it's natural. That's the natural order of things. That
well, of course, we
eat
keep
hens.
the hunt going, you know, to keep the foxes down.
But what is totally unnatural is to keep.
Nowadays.
What is totally unnatural is to keep 5 hens to a cage where they cannot move. Where
they cannot move,
they cannot even stretch their wings, they're denied the most basic freedom. And more than that, if you just let me speak, please don't interrupt.
Yes, carry on, my love. Yes, go on.
They can't stretch their wings, where they're fed an unnatural diet. Yes, it gives them all the nutrients, but they still leach all the calcium out, they have broken bones, and then they're slaughtered in conditions. Let me tell you about slaughter. You say that slaughter is always humane.
Yes,
I totally object to that, because I know for a fact that it's almost never humane. You think about lambs going to slaughter. There was
spring lamb. I had a joint of that.
No, you stand outside a slaughterhouse. Most people don't even want to think about slaughter. They find it too horrific to even think about, yet to talk about. And the places that I've seen, there's a good reason for that. Every single slaughterhouse I've visited.
How many slaughterhouses have you visited, my dear, and where were they, and under whose regulations were they operating?
One of the most recent that I saw was a slaughterhouse that's in the Potteries, in fact.
Can you name it?
No, I'm not going to name it for good reason.
Well, I'll tell you why, because each and every slaughterhouse is subject to the most stringent regulations.
What happens in those slaughterhouses is that animals like sheep, lambs, cows, pigs, they're supposed to be made unconscious before they're hung upside down by the back leg, they go along a conveyor belt and then they have the throat slit. What happens all the time is that they're not made fully unconscious.
All the time, dear,
they're hung upside down, they go to have the throat slit while they know exactly what's happening to them. There was a study done actually by the government on 10,000 lambs and sheep.
Can you quote this study, please?
Of course.
What's its title?
It was published in one of the veterinary journals.
Can we have the title?
If you want the title, contact Viva. It's the charity that I run, and
see,
it's all referenced.
It's so easy to say there was a report and then you can't quote the title.
There was 10,000 sheep at 40 slaughterhouses throughout the UK. The reason that they were looking at this is because they wanted to find out whether sheep indeed were unconscious when they had the throat slit.
And they are.
And they found that almost in every single case, they were not. There's a reason for this. Sheep, they put like tongs on either side of the head. They're supposed to put an electric shock through the brain. What the slaughterman does, they do not hold it on either side of the brain for long enough, so the sheep falls over, it's paralysed, but it's still fully conscious. It is then hung upside down by the back leg, and it goes along a conveyor belt. The slaughterman then slits the throat. Now, what this study said was that because the sheep was only paralysed, the electric shock wasn't strong enough or held on the head long enough to make the sheep unconscious. Went along the conveyor belt and they knew everything that was happening to them. Now, some of the worst and most awful sights I've ever seen in my life, one that I will never, ever forget, was a cow that knew everything that was happening to us, totally fully conscious. She was struggling on the conveyor belt.
Know?
They slit her throat, and then the slaughterman actually hacked her leg off and threw it away.
Well, I tell you what you should have done, my dear. If you saw this happening, my dear,
but every animal welfare organisation, it was reported. Every animal welfare organisation has seen this, has videoed it, and it's so easy to see. One of the other things, the worst thing I've ever seen, was in live export.
Well, I've had,
there was a bull
45 years
on
of the food and
a bull who was
industry,
going abroad.
And the things you are recounting here
to France
to me, my
and to
dear,
Holland, they go across all the
strike
time.
me as pure and adulterated fiction, if I may say
It's
so.
not fiction. I've seen it with my
Now,
own
let
eyes.
me say
Why do you
this.
think that I went vegetarian? I used to enjoy meat. I went
That, my
vegetarian
dear,
because I've seen
you are
it
obviously a
for
sincere
myself.
young woman.
I am
and
sincere
I
because I've seen
I don't mind you
awful
being
things.
a vegetarian. Good luck to you. I had a plate of muesli for me breakfast this morning. I have vegetarian dishes from time to time, but what I do enjoy most of all, Sundays, when my wife opens the Arga, brings out the roasting tin, and in it is a 3-rib of roast beef with the beautiful roast beef.
BSE with the bloody juices and the antibiotics
There's
and the
been
growth
more
hormones.
people
Yes, lovely,
kicked to death by donkeys in Blackpool than have suffered any ill effects from enjoying a rich, rare rib of beef. And we take that out, my dear, and I get hold of the crust of a wholemeal loaf. Now, there's a nice vegetarian thing, a wholemeal loaf, the crust. And I get the crust, and I put it round in all that rich, lovely brown gravy.
It's true that many people
have that, you know, and I've just come back from church as well.
But many people more
Wash
die.
it down
What people
with a
are
glass of
dying of
Burgundy.
with too many animal products is heart disease and cancers.
Well, look at me, my dear.
Did you know?
I'm 69.
Did you know that even
and
our
I
government
eat meat
has said
every day
that if people go vegetarian, they'd reduce the cancer medical bill by half?
Absolute rubbish.
It's not rubbish. You cannot say that.
My good friend, Dr. Ian
Eating
Charlton,
too much
who
meat
lives up
and
near
eating
me,
too many dairy products causes cancers.
we both enjoy our wine.
And it causes heart disease. You know why?
No.
Because it clogs up the arteries and the blood, it puts the pressure on the heart
Get
and it
away.
causes a heart attack.
Well,
Most-
I should be
most
due
people-
to go down with a heart attack here and now.
Well, you probably will.
Well, I might indeed, you know, then the wife will collect the
Going
insurance.
on the way that you are.
No. Dear.
What I'm talking about is the general
bread and
population.
Burgundy. I may have said that before.
Easy,
Excellent.
It's easy to dismiss
Healthy
people's
life.
pain and suffering, but if you know someone with
No,
heart
I'm not.
disease, they go up the stairs, they can't breathe, they don't
All
feel
right.
fit, and most people actually have it within the power,
Aye.
within their own hands, to diminish that suffering. If you eat a diet that's high in things like fresh fruit and fresh veg and all the other wonderful
But you
vegetarian
can
products,
eat that as well, dear.
Hang on, you
I've
can-
just consumed half a bowl of fruit in the dressing
hang
room
on.
here.
You can reduce.
Wonderful.
You
Plums,
can stop
strawberries.
the clogging of your arteries. You can reduce that pain. But meat and dairy products actually cause that pain. They kill you
I tell
early,
you,
too young.
I don't think there's anything wrong with my
And you
heart.
don't need to eat
I'm
it. Look,
69.
you don't need to eat meat. You can be perfectly healthy
But I love
on a
meat.
vegetarian diet.
A
What I'm
lovely-
talking about,
a
for most,
lovely leg of
most
lamb.
people, you dismiss the cruelty and the suffering. You say it doesn't exist. But
A
for most
stuffed
people,
pheasant.
most people want to be compassionate. They want to care. They don't want to see animals being
But
cruelly
I'm
treated.
compassionate, dear.
Just let me tell you
Put
something
me in
else.
a garden with
You're not
roses and I'm
compassionate.
as
You're not
compassionate as a tin of
compassionate.
condensed milk. I am
You're
compassionate.
You cannot be. I don't
I'm
think
a
you've got-
family man.
I
I've got a
don't
little
think-
boy of 4
I don't-
years of age.
I don't think,
Young
for some
Joseph.
reason, you managed to cut off cruelty to animals. That,
Because
for
I don't
whatever
believe
reason.
there is
For whatever
any.
reason. Let me give you another example of something that truly moved me to the very core.
Aye,
There was a bull going across on live export, and he'd broken his pelvis.
You want to watch bulls, they're dangerous.
This went on national television, in fact,
it?
and rocked the whole nation.
And we'll believe everything we see
he'd-
on national telly.
Oh, you think they deliberately broke this bull's pelvis?
I
The bull,
don't know.
if I can just finish.
Yes, go on,
The bull
love,
was
go
on the
on.
boat, broken his pelvis, he couldn't move, so he was trying to get up onto his front legs. The men who were trying to move him used electric shocks on his testicles to move him. They went
Hey.
on for half an
Well, I
hour doing
understand
this.
that would be very painful.
30 minutes of this bull crying out in absolute
Yes.
agony.
But where
And
was this
goes
done?
on-
Was this done in
This
England?
goes on day in,
Was
day
it
out.
done in England?
This happened to British animals
Was
going
it
out to
done in
France,
England?
to Spain, to
It would
Egypt,
not
to Greece,
be done
and to
in
Asia.
this country.
This is
what happens in
absolute
Asia?
nonsense.
What happens
They're
in Africa?
British
God alone
animals.
knows. I
These are
don't
British
know.
animals going out. You cannot say
What-
it doesn't happen in Britain.
Where
British
did it
slaughterhouses are
happen,
cruel.
dear?
Another example
Where
of British.
where did it happen?
Good old Britain. It was a boat going out from Britain out
Yes,
to Greece.
but from which port what date?
It's
who was
irrelevant.
responsible?
It's irrelevant. It was a British animal.
I can
it was
make
a British
any sort
animal.
of blanket statement.
If you want to
if
stop...
I say I've broken a bull's leg, I've got to say what sort of bull it
pelvis.
was, where that bull's leg was broken, and why, and how it was broken. And this just would not happen in this country.
Oh, this is nonsense.
The whole transport of animals in this country
just about everybody knows that live transport of animals
the veterinary
is
profession,
incredibly
the National
cruel,
Farmers
that it's not
Union.
regulated at all. It's totally
We
unregulated.
people connected with the food industry, dear, we're not a bunch of sadists.
Well,
we're a
are
kindly
you?
bunch. Farmer
You're not a
Giles
kindly
figures.
bunch. You're not.
If
You're
we
into
don't-
money.
if
You want
we
to make
don't-
money at
well,
every
of
last
course
thing.
I
You
wanna
do not
make money.
care
I've
about
got a
human
family
health.
to keep.
Hence BSE. You do
I
not
don't
care
want
about
them on
human
the
health.
dole.
You do not care about
I'm not a
animals. You
one-parent
do not care
family.
about the environment.
Of course we
Animal
do.
farmers have ripped up the British hedgerows enough to cover the earth 4 times over. They've destroyed
They've ripped up
90%
the
of our
hedgerows
ponds. They've
enough
destroyed
to
all our
cover
forests.
4 times over.
They've destroyed. They're the major polluters of water in
don't
the
believe
world.
you.
And they use most of the water. There are
You see,
billions of farm
I'm
animals.
getting
Excuse
a
me,
sense of
just a
conscience
second.
now, dear, because
Listen,
I
for
don't
one
like sort
second.
of putting the truth to you
I
like
don't want
this.
to talk over
I'd
you,
like to
but-
sort of convert you, open your eyes to see the realities of the food production.
That's the
food
problem. My
process.
eyes have been opened.
Oh, dear me,
They
but
have
you've
been
seen
opened.
some false prophets in this business, you honestly have. I'll tell you what we do when we finish this programme. I'll take you out and let's have a nice rump steak apiece, or 2 or 3 pork chops with some roast potatoes, and all right, we'll have some green beans, some spinach and spaghetti, and we'll wash it down with a good bottle of Beaujolais
Eating
or
meat,
Côte
it
d'Or.
destroys the environment en masse. It's cruel
How
to
does it
animals.
destroy the
It-
animals?
It's cruel to animals and it
they
destroys
void
health.
manure, and there
Whatever
we get
you
the
say,
natural
you are
manure
just
to
in
put
it
back.
for
If
the
there
money.
wasn't any animals, there wouldn't be any natural manure.
And you
can't
don't
have it
care.
both ways.
You don't care about the welfare of those animals, because if you did,
course I
you
do.
would make less money out of them.
Not
That's
at
all
all.
it comes
You've
down to at the end of the
gotta
day. Factory farming is about making money out of animals. It is cruel and it is disgusting.
Well, all right.
And nothing can
Factory
justify it.
production of
Nothing.
sparking plugs is after making money out of the motor industry.
They are
Factory
not
fa-
living creatures
factory
with
farming
feelings.
is
They are
an
not living,
emotive
feeling,
term.
sentient
It is
creatures.
intensive, kindly livestock production.
Nothing is kind
conducted with a
about caging
great
animals
deal of
and not allowing
compassion.
them any freedom.
Compassion, my dear.
No compassion.
Compassion in farming.
It's institutionalised cruelty with no compassion
I'm
at all.
sorry, dear, I cannot really agree with you on that one. I can't really. It isn't. The farmer is possibly the last bastion of kindly compassion towards livestock that we have in this
The farmers
country.
show no compassion
The British
to livestock.
farmer is the
Farmers-
salt of the earth.
Farmers send their animals to slaughter in the most inhumane, disgusting
no, no.
conditions. They
They're
send them
not-
to export to
No.
abroad to be killed
No,
in
no,
the
no.
most disgusting
I
conditions.
have-
And they keep them here in the most disgusting conditions.
I have
There are
friends
billions
in the
of animals,
livestock
farm animals,
transport
on this
industry.
planet.
Yes.
Land has to be used worldwide to grow feed for those animals. To do that, we have destroyed
It's
the
being
forests,
used-
we have destroyed our waterways, we have
Which
overfished the
waterways have
oceans.
we destroyed?
Half of the world's
Which
oceans...
forests in
are now-
England have we
Excuse
destroyed?
me, half of the world's oceans are on the point of environmental collapse because they have been
Yeah,
overfished.
I live on the shores of the
You
North
do
Sea.
not
It's
need-
sea houses. There's no sign of the North Sea.
In the
It's sea
North
houses.
Sea,
Harbour being
mackerel
destroyed.
cannot even be fished
Oh, my
anymore.
boat's floating in it while I'm away
has
from
been
it.
so overfished, there are none left in the
Mackerel's
North Sea.
a dirty fish
Cod-
to eat anyhow.
Cod is going to be extinct within 5 years
Why?
because we have overfished them. This is a terrible, frightening problem. We're destroying the ecology of the oceans just for
We're
what?
not.
For
It
product we
doesn't-
don't need to eat.
It
Whatever
doesn't pay
you
you to
farmers,
destroy the
whatever
ecology.
you farmers
You
touch, you
husband
destroy.
the ecology.
You
You
destroy the
husband-
oceans.
No,
you destroy
dear.
the environment.
No,
You've destroyed the rainforest for beef cattle, for burgers.
Where the rain?
You destroyed
which
over half
rainforest
of the
for
rainforest
burgers?
of the earth. You're
Where?
destroying the waterways. Did
Where
you
are
know?
these? Where are these
Did you know that
rainforests?
the major waterways of the earth are almost dried up because they're being fed? They're being used to water animals.
There's been floods in
Something-
Spain that has swept away
You know,
caravan
something that
parks.
really worries
That
me.
wasn't dried
It
up.
sounds terribly
The
dramatic.
Ganges in India, where I believe there are rainforests,
Are dried up.
Floods
They're
every
dried
year.
up.
Yeah.
They're drying up.
Because
the great
they
rivers of
don't-
the world.
They don't
because
initiate
they
a
use-
programme of conservation of water resources.
Because they're destroying the land to grow feed, to farm animals, which people then eat.
Which farm
if
animals?
we continue to do this, there will be no there will be no waterways left, there will be no forests left.
You've got it wrong, my dear.
Listen,
honestly.
I am the director of Viva, a national charity.
I've never heard of Viva,
to find
quite
out more
honestly.
about this, they
I mean,
should
I could
contact
say
us.
I'm a Seventh-day
Because
Adventist or
these
whatever, but
issues are so vital, they're
course
so
they
important,
are.
and
And
people
it's very
have to
good.
do something
It's
about
very
it.
good that young
Going
women like
vegetarian
you
is
have
a
a conscience.
positive
You've got to
step.
have a conscience.
It's a positive step about saving the environment, saving animals, and saving your own health.
But it's only by
Which is
listening.
vital
It's
that
only by
people-
listening
It's vital
to
that
people
people
like
stand up
myself
and listen and actually
who
do
are
something.
kindly, who will
save the
listen to the other
environment.
person's point of view.
But you're not listening.
You listen to me, my dear.
You're not listening
I'm
to
not
anything.
saying I'm 100% right. I'm probably 99.9% right, my dear. But we'll have a chat later on.
No,
and I'll
you have
attempt,
spent-
I'll attempt
you
to
spent
let
this
you
entire
see
programme-
just how kindly and compassionate, I'm using those two words again,
Well, you're not.
the whole of the British food industry is. Believe me, it is.
You're a
my
man
dear.
that agrees with battery farming. Almost all of Britain disagrees with you. You
Indeed,
are a cruel
indeed.
man. You agree with cruelty. You're
No,
not
I-
compassionate.
I don't think I am. I wouldn't say I was a cruel
Anybody
man, dear.
who agrees
I
with
think-
caging
not at
animals
all.
like that
The animals,
does not
the
have a
hens,
heart.
they're comfortable. They're sitting
They're not,
there.
they're not
just
comfortable.
going,
Why do so
"Plop,
many
plop,
die
plop,
in the
plop."
cages then?
Who?
Why do they peck each other to death? Because they're frustrated and they're bored. Why do you chop their beaks off when they're chicks?
Well, I
stop
didn't
them
know we
pecking
did
each
chop
other?
the beaks off, quite
Well, it
frankly.
seems it happens throughout the industry. You don't know
Does
much
it
about
really?
the own
Oh,
industry,
well,
do you?
I'm always open. I'm always open to learn something,
debeak-
dear. You're never
they
too old to learn.
They debeak the birds.
But if you want
because
eggs
they... Can you just listen
365
for
of
a
days
second?
of the
I
year.
don't want eggs 365 days
Yeah, but a
a
lot
year.
of people do. The customers
I don't
of the
think people do
supermarkets
want
do.
eggs treated in such cruel conditions. I really don't
Well,
think
you
people
want
do.
to
Once
go
they
out
know
and
the
ask them,
truth,
how are you
they
going to
say
get
no.
the eggs from the free... I mean, we keep coming back to these chickens. How do you get the eggs from the free-range flocks at 360? How do you get eggs at Christmas from them when the north wind's blowing up their backsides? I
You
don't
know
see
what
how
they
you
do?
can.
They chop through their beaks. It's called debeaking. And
Oh,
the
right.
beak, they used to say it's just like the nail. They don't feel anything.
Well, it is, quite
But it's
frankly.
not.
It's the same horn.
It's not. It's actually, it's got the most, it's the most sensitive organ of
Well,
the bird.
I'd like to...
Excuse me,
Have you got any
because
veterinary qualifications?
it has got the nerve endings in
Has
the
it?
beak.
Oh.
It's a sensitive organ. They
Yes.
use it to find food and
Aye.
all the rest of it. And they chop right through the nerve
Never.
endings. Those chicks, a lot of them die of shock and they die of bleeding. This
I've never heard of a chicken
British-
dying from shock but through having its beak.
Even
the
the-
top beak
even-
protrudes slightly over
Even
the
the
bottom
British
beak. And
government's
if they do, they
own
just cut a
Animal
little bit
Welfare
off.
Council has said that it's wrong and it should be banned,
Yeah.
but it still has not been. This happens
Well,
every
then,
day.
if you think it should
let's look
be,
at something else. Let's look
initiate
at
the legislation through Parliament and let Parliament decide, not bigoted pressure groups like yourself.
and who do you think puts the pressure on to stop this cruelty if not pressure groups?
But you've got
Who
to,
do you
if you
think
do
tells
it,
the British
if you
public
do
the
it
truth?
in a
It's not pressure
democratic,
groups.
if you do it in a democratic way, that's
Do you
fair
think the
enough.
farmers
But
are going to tell the public the
I'll tell you
truth?
this, the farmers don't go to the streets and go around rampaging and knackering about and breaking into butchers' shops like some of these pressure groups that are animal welfare people do.
No, what
they
farmers
resort
do-
to physical violence. I mean, look how they attack the poor huntsmen who are keeping down the foxes.
That's absolute nonsense.
Disgraceful.
What farmers do are physically violent to animals.
They're
What
not.
you do is disgusting, quite frankly.
Look, I've got
Look
a
at-
dog, I've
look
got
at it.
2 cats, I had a spaniel,
You know
a gun
something
dog.
else? Something else that made me go
Wonderful
vegetarian
animal.
and
I was
stay
never cruel to
vegetarian.
it at all.
Something else that made me go vegetarian and stay was
What's
I went
that
into
idea?
a couple of pig units, and I went to
Yeah.
one very recently, actually about 4 months ago.
Aye.
A place owned, in fact, it's a show place used
Is
for
it?
farmers.
Yes.
You went in there, these pigs are kept in this huge shed, and they're in these narrow stalls. They're about 2 inches away from each other, but they cannot touch
Now,
each other.
how long ago was this? Because the best way, best way to
if I could
keep
just
pigs,
describe what
yes,
I've seen
the
instead of
best way
talking
to
over
keep
me
pigs
all the time.
is in large
Excuse me, let
containers,
me at
large
least
barns
speak. You might not
with
like the
about
truth, but I
18
at least
inches to
want to
2
tell
foot,
what
3
I've
foot of
seen.
straw.
That
Now,
is
that's
not the
how
way
you
they're
produce,
kept. These
that's
pigs
how you produce the best
couldn't
British
turn round.
bacon.
Couldn't even turn round.
Never.
Because some of them couldn't lie down. They're kept there throughout the pregnancy. These are the breeding stock.
Yes.
When they have the piglets...
Have you ever considered it might be
they're moved
because
into
the
these-
pregnant
they're
sow
moved into these
needs
tiny crates.
supporting, needs
Oh, my
supporting.
goodness me.
And this is a kindness to the
So if
pregnant sow.
you kept a
Because
pregnant
if it
dog
wasn't,
in a tiny cage,
it
you'd
could
say,
roll
you're
over
supporting the
after it had
dog,
given
we need
birth
to support
to
it.
its lovely little
This is
piglets, it could
absolute
roll over
total
and
nonsense.
squash them to death.
Absolute
and
nonsense.
that would be cruel, my
The
dear.
reason that you
would
do
be
it is to
really
keep
cruel.
as many pigs as possible in the smallest space of possible and make as much money as possible out of those animals.
The way you
that is
keep
the only
pigs,
reason you do
keep
it.
pigs in as natural environment as possible, I say, in yards with straw, you keep them happy.
Hardly any pigs are kept like that.
The pigs that I know are, and they're happy, grunty little animals, and they've got their own little dunging pens outside, and they have a very, very happy life.
Pigs are very sociable animals, don't you? I mean, pigs are very sociable
animals.
Pigs are.
Some people even keep Vietnam pot-bellied pigs.
I know, as pets.
I mean, they might keep Vietnam pot-bellied Bill Weekses as pets, but I don't think you would, dear.
They're very sociable, they're intelligent.
Yes,
they're highly,
if you like them
creatures.
going around the house. I mean, I prefer to have our little Jack Russell Terrier now with 2 pussycats.
Well, you prefer your dog because you like to think, well, let's make as much money out of farm animals and kill them and treat them the way we want. Well, I don't want to do that to my dog. But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, there's no difference really between your dog and that pig. Why?
Well, there is. I mean, a pig's got a snout and it goes oink, 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 and our Jack Russell it goes bow wow when I go in. There's a bit of difference. I mean, if you cannot tell the difference between a dog and a pig, dear, I think some of your other ideas might be somewhat at variance.
Slightly missing the point. What I'm trying to say is that a dog is an intelligent animal, very sociable.
So
if you kept that dog in a small cage throughout its pregnancy, denied it any freedom, it couldn't even lie down standing in its own filth.
Our dog?
Throughout its life.
Well, thank God it hasn't been pregnant yet, because...
You would be prosecuted for cruelty, wouldn't you?
Yes, indeed.
Of course you would.
And so would the farmer who's doing what you're saying.
Do the same to the pig, and that is just accepted as normal, because it's just institutionalised.
Look,
I don't think that factory farming should be even legal.
Or conform, I should say, to the most rigorous anti-cruelty regulations. And the inspectors can walk into any farm any time of the day and night and have a look at the ways in which these animals are kept. And most of them are kept in very, very comfortable, happy conditions.
No, they're not. They're kept in disgusting conditions.
I don't think so, dear. I mean, I've had a lot of experience going on pig
Why do you
farms.
think so many people are giving up meat? Why do you think there are so many
I
millions of vegetarians in Britain?
I really don't know. Quite frankly, it certainly hasn't affected our family.
It's because people are opening their eyes to the reality of modern farming. They do not want to be cruel to animals. Also, they don't want to jeopardise their own health or the environment.
But they're
that is why they're going vegetarian.
their own health. They're not jeopardising the environment.
Of course they are.
I mean, you get protein from a meat animal, from an animal, meat, yes. It contains all the amino acids needed for healthy life. Now, if you're going to have it, can I pour that out for you, my dear? I'm not such a monster as you like to point. Could you pour me one, please? That's very kind of you. I mean, if you're going to have a vegetarian diet, you've got to say, have 2 different types of vegetables and eat them together to get the balance of amino acids you need to build up a proper protein framework for.
All the things that protect you.
You get all the amino acids you need in meat.
All the things that protect your health from about 60 or so diseases are in fresh fruit and fresh vegetables.
But
meat doesn't protect your health.
No.
It causes cancers and it causes heart disease. It's one of the biggest killers in the entire world, and people are just beginning to realise this. I didn't go vegetarian because of health, but having worked for Viva and looked at all the medical papers almost throughout the world, you come to the conclusion...
How can you look at all the medical papers from throughout the world? You make these blanket statements. What I'm saying is, I don't object to you being a vegetarian.
Because as a national organisation, we get hold of these
I love eating
papers.
Vegetables, and I also eat meat. I wouldn't try and say to you, you must give up eating vegetables, you must give up eating fruit, and you've got to have a meat-only diet.
I'm not telling you must do anything, I'm just saying accept the truth.
The truth, my dear, is a very nebulous thing.
Forever.
Adolf Hitler thought he had the truth. I mean,
look,
I always like to look at any argument in a simple, dispassionate manner.
You have made money.
The pros
you
and
make
the
money out of farming animals, so you're not going to accept the truth no matter what that truth is.
Sorry?
You've made money out of farming animals, so you won't accept the truth.
I've made money out of farming animals.
You're bound not to accept the truth. But there was a study in the USA, the US government has now accepted. They said vegetarians enjoy...
What is this study, my dear? Who's published it?
I'm about to tell you. If you stop interrupting every second, it's painful.
Well, of course, the truth sometimes hurts.
They looked at over... Well, that's why you won't let me speak. They looked at over 100 studies, and they found that vegetarians get up to 57% less heart disease, they get up to 50% less of all the cancers.
Do they really?
Yes, they do. I mean, this is quite
whatever you say, my dear, I'm still sticking to me beef bread and me burgundy.
You stick to whatever you want. You stick to whatever you want, but don't try and stop people from finding out the truth.
I'm not. The more they attempt to find out the truth, the better it is, and the more they'll come down and support my constructive arguments and criticism.
to tonight's 10 by 10 film is a disturbing and graphic portrait that draws a fine line between the hunter and the hunted.